What's happening, party people? I'm replacing Robbie Kramer for a moment just to introduce our next speaker, who's a pretty amazing guy. If there were 4 things that truly changed my life, it would be my experience in the seduction community and what women taught to me and all that fun stuff. It would be what I learned here about paleo and having the, you know, what my physical body was meant to be and eating right and all that sort of stuff. Meditation, we had speakers speak on that as well. And then the 4th thing would be my experience with martial arts and finding myself through those things. I've trained martial arts for forever, for all my life, you know, since I was a boy, in many different styles and with amazing teachers. And the guy who I'm about to introduce to you today is literally the best, hands down person that I've worked with and who's taught me the most about myself and is a reflection in all of my life and what we do. And probably one of the most dangerous guys that you will ever meet. His name is Edward Aiken. He runs a company called Force Dynamics with an X.com, which he will tell you all about. Ed, there you go.
All right, thank you. All right, let's see if I can do this justice here. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Anthony, for giving me the opportunity to be here. I'm based out of Austin, Texas, so I don't do a whole lot of these speaking things, so we'll see how it goes, but I do a lot of teaching. And I want to start with a little brief background on myself because it sets the frame for what we're going to learn about today. Okay, and it's a concept I call forcing the dark side. And before you start thinking it's about stalking ladies of the night, putting them in the trunk of your car, it's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of that. So there's a lot of useful things in here. But we will define what this is. And it's really more, so if you guys aren't in martial arts, don't worry about it. This is a concept that has changed my life in many ways. And hopefully if we get to the point where I can define it clearly for you, what it is, why you should develop it, and how you can develop that given the time, and you guys actually put in the applications, you will see some amazing results for yourself. So getting back to myself, I've been doing martial arts for 30-some odd years. I'm 40 now. So I started very early. And the reasons I got into martial arts are very similar to the reasons why a lot of people get in the seduction community. Okay, I was basically the AFC of the fighting world. I grew up in rural Michigan. I had no friends to play with, so I had little to no social skills when I was younger. And so by the time I got to a larger school, I started getting my ass handed to me every day by this group of guys, and it got worse and worse over the years. So my mother, bless her, had enough, so by the time I was about in 6th grade, she decided to enroll me in some martial arts. And I had some judo and some other things when I was a little bit younger, but this was really out of a necessity to stop getting beat up every day. And so, of course, back then, we didn't really have functional martial arts, right? We had YMCA karate and some taekwondo and maybe some crazy kung fu stuff. So the very act of enrolling me in martial arts didn't really help the ass beatings, and forgive my French, but they actually increased them. Especially the first fight when my karate actually came out, yeah, it wasn't good. So, but that was the impetus for me to get into the martial arts was really self-preservation. Okay, it had nothing to do with the tradition of the martial arts or that side of things, which now I've come full circle to appreciate. But it was really, just much like the AFC out there with girls who's shot down time after time after time, I was getting beat up time after time after time. And so what this did to me is it made me, after training, and I didn't want to give up my training, to seek out a functional martial art. And it took me to about the age of 17 to actually find something, and it's an art called Jeet Kune Do Concepts. And it's really Bruce Lee's approach of how to train in the martial arts. And really back then, it's a precursor to MMA. It's cross-training. These guys were boxing, kickboxing, using weapons, doing some grappling. And so it was finally at the age of 17 that I found a functional art. And so it was really through this self-preservation journey, really, because all the philosophy in the world and in the martial arts at that time did me no good when I was actually in school and after school and on the playground getting beat up. It didn't help. And this is one of those things that it's behind this idea of killer instinct. And what Killer Instinct is, it's an idea, but it's the base of Killer Instinct is what I call a primal driver. And the reason that we have martial arts in the first place is out of that primal driver, and it's very similar to the reason why we have the seduction community, which is also a primal driver. And so when we start working with these forces, right, which we'll get into a little bit more, they are universal forces out there. This is why when people are in the seduction community and they really get into connecting with women, right, they're tapping into that primal source. And what is that primal source? Well, what drives the seduction community, the very existence of it, is for us as a species to procreate, right? We as men have that drive to go out and seek out women to ensure that we spread the seed, to make sure that the species survives so we can experience life. Well, the same thing in the martial arts. When we have killer instinct or self-preservation, we need that to ensure that our family, ourselves, and our tribe are going to be safe, right? When we started going through warring times and we actually had tribes, we had other warring tribes come in, and if your tribe was wiped out, we didn't survive. So this is a primal driver to also experience life that we're tapping into. And I call it forcing the dark side because we're talking about life and death, and we have to get in touch with that. And it's not necessarily, on the surface, a good thing in many contexts, right? We don't want to just walk out there and be this sadistic animal. It doesn't work in the modern world. But as a result of the modern world, we've lost touch with this. Many of us have. You know, and a lot of that is social programming. A lot of that has to do with our environment. You know, sitting in front of the computer, it limits our focus. We don't get to express ourselves as men. So I wanted to use this subject because I think it's a good theme for this, this venue. But going back to myself, right around when I was 17, and I started training in Jeet Kune Do Concepts, I started turning the tides in my fight. I started having some results. There were still fights where I would stalemate with people. I'd still get black eyes. I'd still, you know, not be where I wanted to be. I still didn't have the self-image that I needed. Years and years of you know, not having social skills will do damage to your self-image. But it was through this that led me to go to California and start training with another JKD expert, Paul Vunak. And at the time, I believe I was 19 when I started training with him. He was just getting done with his contract with SEAL Team 6 out of Virginia Beach. Okay? And Vunak is one of the biggest influences on my life. But he also has, in the martial arts community, at that time, he kind of was a sore subject because he was just about fighting. Okay? He was in the streets perfecting his art, you know, in actual bad situations. We're not talking about just, you know, mano a mano with one guy. He put himself in really bad situations to see what worked. Okay? And that caught the eye of the government, who then in turn wanted him to train SEAL Team 6. And how he got the eye of the government is a whole nother story. But